way to do it. Good afternoon, Arizona Rattler fans. It's time for the Arizona Rattlers Coaches Show with Kevin Guy, and my name is Floyd Simmons. Welcome in. Coach Guy, welcome in. And, how are things going down at Rattlers HQ?
Well, just game planning for this week and trying to get our scripts ready and put the game plan in and see who we got that's healthy and put a game plan in based around our health.
All right, Coach, listen, coming off a tough one. Close game, nip and tuck, came down to the final 4 seconds on Saturday for your team at home against the Frisco Fighters, top team in the Eastern Conference. It was a game that gave all the fans everything they could bargain for, and certainly it was worth the price of admission. Great game that came down to the final seconds, but unfortunately for the Rattlers and Rattler Nation, it was a victory for Frisco, 48-45. So let's go back and let's talk about the things that maybe you'd like to have a do-over on Saturday. What were your general thoughts about the finish for the Rattlers on Saturday?
Well, we got what we deserved. I'm a big believer you are what you are when you look at the standings. And, we've lost 2 out of our last 3. In both of those games, the other team was more physical than we were. And, we made too many mistakes to overcome it. I'm not going to sit here and make, excuses with injuries. Every football team goes through injuries. The last time we played Frisco, I believe they were down some players and we had their way with them. This time, we were down some players. I do feel like they put their best team on the field and it went down to the wire, but they won the game. And, I had concerns going into the game just from a health standpoint. And then when you kind of add on all the other things that went on, it certainly contributed, to the loss. We had, just our discipline. We had 3 players that were late to a pregame meal. And, and all 3 players contributed to, the loss and made some major mistakes in the game that contributed to our loss. And there's got to be some accountability there. So, look, everything starts with me, starts with my dad. I'm the first one that looks in the mirror. I can certainly take my blame. But I felt like the coaches this week had a great week or last week had a great game plan going into the game. And, when we executed, everything that we thought was going to work worked. But, there was, I believe it was the series before the last. So at the end of the game, we had a chance to go up 12 points. And if we do that, I like our chances to win that ball game. We had 5 things that went wrong in that drive. We had 2 drop touchdowns that drive. We had to call a timeout, which everybody knows. I saved those 3 timeouts for the 1-minute situations. But we had the drive was so important on going up 2 possessions. We had to use a timeout because we had a miscommunication coming out of the huddle where we had some players that didn't hear the play call and was confused and what blows my mind is they just keep going out there to line up, not knowing what the play is. Come back and say check and ask the quarterback, what the play is again, right? And then we had 2 penalties, and after we called the timeout, we had a penalty coming out of the timeout, which is mind-boggling, okay? And if you look, we had a guy wide open on that guy was coming open on that play for a touchdown as well. So, and then we missed a field goal on that drive, and they got the ball, came down, took the lead. We came back down, took the lead the series after, but then they drove back down and. We got them into a 4th down, even with 2 timeouts. Their quarterback made a mistake by going out of bounds and gave us an opportunity to stop the clock there. But we didn't help ourselves with the extra play after the whistle was blown. And once a runner hits the wall, he's down. And we just made an ill-advised, had an ill-advised, penalty, and it just wasn't very smart in that situation. And at any time in the game, it's not smart to flip a player over the wall once they hit the wall. I mean, the blade's dead. And that was just undisciplined. And, it certainly cost us, in that situation of the game. So, right now we have to look in the mirror. We have some players that tend to get really emotional during the game. And that concerns me because you can't ride that emotional roller coaster during. I've never had a championship team that rode the emotional roller coaster. Okay, you have to show some poise when adversity strikes, and not get outside yourself. And this is mostly with players that's been here the last couple of years. It's not with a lot of the new players. It's with players that's been here the last couple of years, and we're going to have to make a decision as an organization if we're going to continue to have to deal with this, or are they going to address it as an individual and be able to overcome it? Because that's part of maturing as a player, and we understand that we're coaching young men, and there's a growth to that. But okay, you get us once, okay, you start doing it multiple times, and it's affecting the outcome of the game. Then obviously, that kind of contributes towards the mental weakness part, and we got to address it.
Well, Coach, that is a very comprehensive breakdown to a number of issues that plagued the Rattlers on Saturday, led to that loss. But I'm going to stay right there with you for just a moment. You did not want to make an excuse or make excuses about the injury situation, and yet it was a factor. You were missing a couple of key guys in the trenches for you. Lamar Mady wasn't there on the offensive line. You were missing guys on that defensive line, and to a large extent, it appeared to me as a broadcaster watching the game that that's where Frisco really won the game, was that they had the edge in the trenches. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think most football games are won in the trenches, and we certainly had some guys out, but again, that's not an excuse. I mean, it's an opportunity for the guys that are waiting for their chance to play, and they need to make the most of it. When they come in there, we had I know one defensive lineman we kind of threw in the fire quick. And look, we went into the game knowing that he was going to make mistakes. We had another D lineman been with us for 2 weeks. We knew he was probably going to make some mistakes. That you go into the game knowing that, because there is a learning curve, and some of our run fits wasn't where they wanted to be. And you go look at the game when we played them the first time, we shut that run game completely down. Okay, that wasn't the case this time around, and some of that was run fits. But we also didn't run the ball like we wanted to. And, games are won in the trenches. And listen, you got to give them some credit, but, it's something that, this emotional thing, it's something that we got to continue to address as a league, because it's not, just our team that goes through it. I mean, when we played Frisco the other night, they had 4 or 5 guys that was constantly talking throughout the game. And, this is an opportunity league. You come play in this league for an opportunity to try to advance your career. And, I tell the players all the time, when players come, every player in this league's got a story, but you're short in some area when you come here. You're here to continue to develop. And whether that's physically, maybe you're short in size, maybe it's speed, and maybe it's character. Okay. And, when it comes to character, the higher level you go, it's a bigger deal, because more and more money is being invested in you, right? So, that's got to get addressed. But, I just around the league, I've never seen so many players that are, when I played, the players kept it on the field. It was between the players, Now you're starting to see, it evolve into players are starting to talk to the opposing team coaches. Okay. Players are starting to disrespect the referees. Okay. And that just didn't happen when we played ball. Okay. And, it shows a lack of respect for authority. And, unfortunately, it's going to hold some people back, from their career. There's certainly, guys that in this league have a lot of talent, but talent doesn't always get you where you want to go. Okay. You got to develop that skill set. And but it's not, I think players sometimes think that teams are out there just looking for athletes, and that's not the case. Okay, they're looking for guys that can come in and fit a certain role. And if they don't have a lot of money invested in you, they certainly don't want to deal with somebody that's on the bottom of the roster and have character issues, right? So, I mean, it's something that we've tried to, address in the league, but some guys just don't get the message. And look, we got some issues in our house, okay, and that we got to address, from a leadership standpoint, and there's got to be some accountability. But we got some guys that I certainly am not going to recommend to anybody until the character part gets fixed, and these emotions have got to get under control. You're a grown man getting to play a kid's game, and it's a privilege. It's a privilege to play here. It's a privilege to play in this league, and players need to take advantage of it. Take advantage of it, because these owners are also, obviously giving them a platform to try to help them advance their career. Because if they didn't, their career's over as soon as college is over, right? So, so they need to make the most of it. And I'm for all four of these guys. I want to see them all contribute, and not only be successful in football, but I'd like to see them be successful when football's over for them, and be successful in life. And you got to be careful what bridges you burn as you climb that ladder, okay? Because when the day's over and you can't play no more, and then all of a sudden they're calling back, that's what's on people's minds is, hey, this guy was a problem when they were playing, right? And I think we would put a much better product on the field if we just focused on the game itself and cut out all the minutia.
Well, that's life lessons right there. It extends well beyond football, and even for those folks who are watching who are not football players or not in the game right now, these are the exact kind of things that we're all faced with every day, and it's the way we manage those emotions. It's the way we keep things in check, and the way we keep our minds and our eyes on the big picture. Those are the things that are going to make us successful ultimately. We can't get caught up in that moment and let our emotions be in charge of what happens, Coach. Does that, you want to speak to the final the moments that happened, the exchanges after the game? Because there was a lot of spillover into the post game. A number of the Fighters players stayed on the field. There were exchanges, and I don't know what was going on exactly down there, but there was a lot of testiness. Fortunately, it didn't lead to any real altercations that I could see, but there was plenty of testiness that spilled over into the post game. Yeah,
well, listen, I can't speak to the Fighters. I don't coach the Fighters. I coach the Rattlers, and obviously, I think it was going on both sides, and at the end of the day, we will address it here at the Rattlers, and guys will buy in to who we are. We're a class organization, and we're going to treat everybody with respect, but we're going to play hard. We're going to talk with our pads, but all the extra stuff we don't need. That's not who we are, and we'll all get on the same page, or then we have to make some tough decisions.
Well, one thing I think we can all appreciate is the level of competition, the competitive fire that is there. And these athletes, they're looking for that next opportunity. And I think, when you talk about walking up to the edge emotionally, certainly when you're this competitive and you've got this much talent out there on the field running around, it's going to get heated up. But it was a great game for the fans, I thought. I thought, and by the way, well represented. Rattler Nation came out, and they were there in force. They stayed to the final gun, and they did a great job. I think that they deserve a lot of credit. The best fans in the league once again performed and did their part as the ninth man in a disappointing loss, but nonetheless, they were there for the Rattlers on Saturday.
Great turnout, and we appreciate that. We certainly know they can spend their money wherever they want to spend it, and they choose to spend it with the Rattlers, and we appreciate that. And certainly, it helps us with our environment during the game, and I thought the fans were really into it. Unfortunately, we got to do a better job of putting a better product on the field We just weren't able to do it. And I think listen, I'm fine with having some adversity during the season. Because you get to address some things before you get to the playoffs, right? So I'm fine with having some adversity. What I don't like is having to continue to address the same issues over and over. And it's one of the things I always talk to the players about is like when I got to come in there every week and keep coaching up the same mistakes weekly, then obviously we're not getting the message. We're not retaining the message. And it's on the player to, you got to go address it. And it's the old saying, right? I'm okay with you making a mistake, but, make a new one. Don't keep making the same mistake. And, it seems like sometimes we're continuing to coach the same things over and over again. And that's part of being a professional. If you're going to be a professional, you got to go address it and, fix it and continue to try to grow and mature and develop while you're in this league.
Coach, I'll ask you about a couple of different players. I want to ask you about somebody on that Fighters roster that had a great game and really showed up big in crucial moments down the stretch. Okay, Justin Rankin. We'll get to him in a moment. But your receiving core, I think it's a very solid core. I think it's an outstanding group of receivers. Jamal Miles, obviously Braxton Haley, Isaiah Houston. These are great receivers, and it's a good core. The newest name in that mix is JT Stokes, and I believe he led the team in receiving, and he is just contributing more and more and more as we go along. Talk to me about JT and his performance that you saw Saturday against the Fighters.
Well, I believe that was his second game of the season. He was injured in training camp, and we had to put him on short term and was waiting on him to get healthy. I thought for his second game, his first game, he was just getting acclimated back. The second game, he came out and made some big plays. And look, he's a tough young man, and he's a high character guy, and he works hard out at practice. It shows during the game, and I see his role getting bigger and bigger with us as long as he stays on that track. He can do it all. I mean, he can run routes, he can catch, he can run after the catch, he blocks. He's everything you're looking for, in a receiver. So I think as he continues to learn this offense, he missed a lot of time, but as he continues to learn this offense, I see him getting better and better every week.
Well, one of these days you're going to get Troy Pelletier back on the field as well. Are you looking forward to having him return to the lineup soon?
He's close. I mean, I really thought when he came in, several weeks into the season, he was with us last year, and he kind of came in and kind of settled down, that receiving core. And, he's a big target, big body guy, got good hands, and can certainly make tough catches. He's shown that he can make tough catches, and he's shown that he can break tackles and run after the catch as well. So, really solid blocker. He's been missed, and I think he's close to being back. He may have an opportunity this week. We don't want to rush him back. We want to make sure that he's 100% when he comes back and give him the best chance to be successful.
And is there an update on Jared Harrington?
He is getting closer. That's all I can say. I mean, at the end of the day, he's got to get acclimated, and that's a long time to be out of practice. You got to remember now, he's been rehabbing. So all these other players are in midseason form. They've had training camp, they've had practices. Now it won't take him long to get to that point because he's a veteran, but just sharpening up his routes, his timing, things like that. But it won't be long.
All right, we're visiting with head coach Kevin Guy on the Arizona Rattlers Coaches Show. Everybody, welcome in. And on that other side, the Frisco Fighters, they got a great lift, and their offense really performed and responded well when they decided to bring TJ Edwards in off the bench, and he came in. He played well for the team. There's no question about it. But the guy I thought that was the difference maker in that offense was the running back, Justin Rankin. He had a couple of great runs down the stretch, especially late in the fourth quarter. The one run broke a number of tackles, did not end up getting into the end zone. but took it from essentially one end of the field to the other end and set them up for a score. Justin Rankin, one of the outstanding runners in this league. Clearly there was a problem tackling with the defense. Did not wrap up and bring the guy down in a couple of key moments, but you also had to have some respect for a guy that shows a lot of flash and a lot of great ability on that Frisco roster.
Well, Rankin to me is the guy that makes that offense go. You look, he had a long touchdown coming from our end zone going to the other, missed tackle. Okay, he had another long run. I think we had 3 or 4 guys touch him, in the backfield and missed tackles. And he broke. And you got to give him credit. I mean, he spun and did what he had to do to break free and go run the ball. But I think I put a lot of that on how we tackled, in the game. And you go look how we tackled him the first time we played him, and we smothered him up. And this time around, we had a lot of missed tackles, and that's something we control. Blocking and tackling is a mindset. You got to want to do it, and certainly it wasn't our best day in that area.
All right, Coach Guy, let's look ahead. Coming up this weekend, a Sunday afternoon game. So Rattler fans, remember that. Remember, it's not Saturday this weekend. The Rattlers are going to host the Bay Area Panthers on Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m., 3:05 kickoff time. We'll have a broadcast for you on Cox Your View and on the IFL's YouTube channel beginning at 3 p.m. in the afternoon on Saturday. So, Coach Guy, here's the team that comes in. They're trying to figure out who they are, trying to find themselves after opening the season with a win to start the year over San Diego. It's been all downhill for Bay Area. I really can't determine whether or not the building blocks are coming together for them at all. 8 straight losses, and that's who you get to play on Sunday afternoon.
Well, listen, the focus is on us. It doesn't matter who our opponent is. I mean, every week we take the same approach. Is the focus is on us and the areas that we got to get better at. And right now we're just hoping to heal up a little bit, get some guys back in the lineup. If they don't, then the guys that get the opportunity, they need to make the most of it. All right, because when those guys do get healed up, it's really always based on how the team is playing. So they got an opportunity to come in and take a job while the other guys are out, right? Because when we decide, or when I decide who's going to play in a game, it's based on how the team is playing and who's the right fit. So when you get that opportunity, you better make the most of it.
Well, that's the big game this weekend. Then the Rattlers are going to take on the Bay Area Panthers, and 2 teams that are on opposite ends of the spectrum right now. The Rattlers still a share of first place in the Western Conference at the 7-2 record. The Arizona Wranglers, the Northern Arizona Wranglers, by the way, have also a 7-2 record right now. So that, by the way, is setting up an upcoming matchup between the Wranglers and Rattlers down the road here in the season. Along the way, Frisco remains now the top team in the Eastern Conference, and they also now possess a 7-2 record, everybody. Back on this one, Coach, it doesn't seem like there's a lot to speak to specifically about that game, except that let's talk about where your team is and what kind of week of practice you're having so far in preparation for the Panthers.
Well, we gave our guys, we play Saturday, don't play again on Sunday. We gave our guys a few days off. We brought them in Sunday, weights, film, and then we gave them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off to, we need to heal up. And, the guys that were in treatment, obviously mandatory that you got to make your treatments and try to heal your body up. But we felt like we needed some rest. There's been several weeks this year that we've only practiced 2 days. So we'll practice Thursday, Friday, and then, Saturday we'll have our meetings and put our final touches on the game plan. And that's something that we've done several weeks out of this year, is only have 2 practices. Sometimes we tend to play a little better when we only practice 2 times, so as it gets hotter in the desert, you gotta manage the heat and also the injuries. So as we get closer to this game, I mean, the focus is really on us. You got to know your opponent and you got to know what their strengths and weaknesses are, but we we put a lot more emphasis on us and the things that we got to get better at in our execution. Um, you know, you made the comment that they won their first one. It's been all downhill. Listen, we've lost 2 out of our last 3 games, so we're not overlooking anybody. Okay, we'll be ready to play with the guys that we have to get on the field, but we're not overlooking anybody. We've lost 2 out of our last 3, and the last thing that I ever want to see this team get tagged as is front runners. And when you look, at how we've played this year, when we've jumped on teams, we've got up 20, 30, 40 points, whatever it is, our guys play at a high level. We got to get better at those tight games when we got to show some poise and we got to go finish some tight games. This team has not has shown me that we can do that yet. Okay. Because we've had really only 2 tight games. And, we got to be able to show some poise and we got to bounce back. And that's an area we got to get better at. And, listen, no 2 games are alike. I knew after playing, Frisco the first time, Coach Back is known for doing 1,000 transactions during the season. So, he's obviously always trying to put his, the best product on the field. And we knew that they were going to make some changes and they brought some, guys back that didn't play against us the first time. And hey, it was a heck of a game. I mean, even with all those mistakes, it was a heck of a game. It was good for the league in the sense that, you had the 2 top teams from both conferences playing each other, and it went right down to the wire to the very last play of the game. So, we'll see what happens. I'm a big believer that the postseason is earned. We haven't earned anything yet around here. We're halfway through the season. We got a whole nother half a season to go. So those standings can change a lot from now to the end of the season. So we haven't got there yet. And and don't get me wrong, I like this team. I like the guys in the locker room. We've had good chemistry all year long, but there's obviously a lot of things that we have to address if we're going to get better as a football team and have a chance to go to the playoffs. And that's something that's earned, and we gotta make sure we take care of home.
Well, the next step along the way is this big game on Sunday afternoon, everybody. The Bay Area Panthers coming to town. It's a 3:05 kickoff at the Footprint Center, the Snake Pit, and a 3 o'clock start on our broadcast on Sunday afternoon. Well, Coach, before we let you go, it's time to play a little get to know your coach guy, and let's dive into this. Now, we all know by now that you're an Alabama guy, and one of the things that I figured out about you is that you spread the love equally across the state. You're not a Crimson Tide fan against Auburn or Auburn over the Crimson Tide. You have a lot of respect for both universities.
I'm a West Alabama guy.
What's that?
I played at West Alabama. That's who I'm for. I'm from West Alabama.
Exactly. But let me ask you this: if you had to take one of the all-time greats from Alabama, Joe Willie Namath, my favorite, maybe my favorite college quarterback, outside of Jake Plummer, okay? And he might have been a little bit better than Jake Plummer as a college quarterback. But if you had to take one of the all-time great Crimson Tide players, Joe Willie Namath, or one of the all-time great Auburn players, and put just one of those guys on your roster, and that other guy, that guy for Auburn, Bo Jackson, which one would you take? Would you take Bo? Would you take Joe Namath?
Well, I went to the same school as Bo Jackson, so that's who I would take. So I grew up with his brothers and sisters. And
no kidding.
I moved late. My hometown is Bessemer, Alabama, and I moved late in high school to a different high school down in Shelby County. But my hometown, where my family is, both sides of my family, was McElroy High School, and that's where Bo Jackson went, and his brother and sisters, grew up with me, and I think if you took Bo out of that conversation, you just said pick between Alabama and Auburn, I would put Bo Jackson with across the nation. Okay, that guy was the real deal, and certainly a great athlete. So.
You imagine if Bo Jackson never has the hip injury, are we talking about him as the greatest running back in the history of football, and everybody else is, after that, or, what would it be?
I don't know. I'm a big believer. I mean, you hear people always talking about Michael Jordan, LeBron, all this stuff. You go back. I mean, to me, it's it's about, were you the best in your era? I mean, you can't. It's hard to say that somebody's the best of all. I mean, I hate those conversations because, you always got somebody that didn't see, the other. For me, like you take Michael and LeBron, right? I grew up watching both. I've seen them both play. There's a lot of young people today that they're just all LeBron fans because that's who they saw him play. They don't have an appreciation for Michael Jordan's game, but they both have their place, and they both got great stories and all that. But if you made me have to pick one, I'm taking Michael. Because Michael to me was mentally tougher. When he got in the big games, he was mentally tougher, and made the big shots when they counted. So that to me is what separates. When you look at LeBron, great talent, but I think Michael Jordan was the mentally tougher of the two.
And how many basketball players ever took the abuse that the Detroit Pistons dished out to Michael when he was coming up, and when the Bulls were challenging the reign of the Pistons in the Eastern Conference, right? I mean, nobody has been that physically abused in the playoffs like Michael Jordan, and he just kept coming back, and he made himself a better player as a result.
Yeah, I think the young people today, they didn't get to see how the NBA was played in the 80s. Okay, there was no drive rule, no dunk rules. I mean, you came in there, you were getting hammered. And you look at Michael Jordan's story. I mean, he had to go get on a weight program, put on 20 pounds of muscle to be able to take those hits. Same thing in football. When you start getting into the quarterback is so much about being also in the right system. Okay, there's just some quarterbacks that perform better in some systems over others. And I think it's on the coaches to be able to change, adjust their system to the who the quarterback is. I see a lot of coaches that are like, I'm not changing anything. You're going to come in, and do it this way. And I don't know. I've certainly changed and adjusted, over the years. I mean, when we were in arena football, Nick Davila, I would say, he was the best, and ball came out on time, he took what the defenses gave him. He could throw the sail route. In this game, I always look for quarterbacks that can throw the sail route. And if you can throw the sail route, then that means you can probably make all the throws because the sail route is the hardest. But Nick didn't get overzealous. Very patient. He studied. He worked hard before and after practice. The guy was a winner, and me and him got along great. I loved coaching him because he was in sync always from the play calling. The time he put into his studying. That's what made him the best when we were in the Arena Football League. And he was a great leader. Always had a great relationship with the guys in the locker room, and but he put the work in, and he studied film, and I always knew he studied film because he always wanted to come back and say, hey, I saw this on film. I want to, I would like to do this. I'd like to do that. Let's look at this, and and I, as a coach, I've always felt like, hey, he's the one playing. I need to make sure that he's the quarterback position is comfortable, and so when we're in arena football, yeah, I mean, in that league. He's the best quarterback that I've coached. And I've coached some good ones through the years, obviously. But as a coach, I think it's my job to build a system. And we always wanted to make sure that we had the personnel and the right system in place for whoever's playing, quarterback, so we can support their skill set and what they bring to the table. So, I've never been we're going to do it this way and that's it. We're not open to looking at any other way. I think you kind of hamstring your team. When you think like that. Now, there's certain things that I believe in and that we're going to do, okay? But you got to be able to change and and tweak some things for the type of personnel you have. And we've certainly shown that here as the Arizona Rattlers with this staff. We put in left the Arena League, came to the Indoor Football League, and put in a whole new offense, defense, special team system. And I think we've adjusted fine. And the biggest thing is learning the adjustments. In this game, and I think we've done a good job of that. Hats off to this staff and the work that they put in, to do that. And you look at my first couple of years in the indoor football, we played with 3 different quarterbacks every year. Guys were getting hurt or wasn't producing, whatever, and we had 3 different quarterbacks every year, and still had a solid season. I know 17 we won it, and 18 we lose on the last play in the semifinals, and 19 we go undefeated, get to the championship game, and lose right there at the end of the game. Last year we get to the championship game, we lose on the last play. So we got to learn how to win on that last play, and it's unbelievable to me because we practice so many situations during practice to try to get the players ready for those situations, and but that's how the wind blows. So, but there's so many things that I look at and consider. And if you're going to be good at anything, you got to go put the time in. You got to study, right? And that's that's my approach on everything. My message has always been no one's going to outwork me. You may beat me from time to time, but are you built for the long haul? Okay, is your organization built for the long haul? Are you going to have success year in and year out? Anybody can be beaten. Okay, but it's about the whole body of work, and are you consistently going to be at the top? And I've just always taken the mindset that nobody's going to outwork us, and we're going to study the game and be ready for those situations. And we're going to, we might not win a championship every year, but we're there. We're going to keep knocking on that door, and we're going to keep winning championships. That's going to happen. But you got to be there to have a chance to win it, and we've always got a chance, and that's why we're built for the long haul here, because we approach it's the way we approach the game.
Hard work and discipline, and coach, that's great stuff right there. You can take so much. There's a coach's speech right there. Just carve out the last 6 or 8 minutes. Everybody play that over and over to your teams, your young kids, and the youth teams that you coach out there. That's really good stuff. Hey, coach, as we wrap it up, you were talking about the NBA and the toughness, the physicality of the game, what it was in the 80s and the first part of the 90s, first half of the 90s. The NBA was a different game than what it is today. And I'll say this, the IFL is the most physical brand of football that there is today out there. I'm not saying it's complete mayhem, but the rules are not quite as strict. And these guys are bringing it. It's physical. I think it's more physical than the NFL. I think it's the most physical brand of football you get. So as a fan, when you come out, you're going to be treated to that thing that we all kind of look back on. Football is meant to be a very physical, tough game, and the guys are bringing it each time they get out there on the field in these IFL games. And so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for there's still plenty of safety measures in place, but if you want physical football, you're going to get it every Saturday and Sunday in an IFL game.
No, there's no question. I mean, if you look at the product on the field from 2017 when the Arizona Rattlers moved to the Indoor Football League to where it is now, it has changed dramatically. And, that's a testament to the owners in this league. They've brought in better coaches. The personnel has gotten better. And that's what a league's supposed to do, right? You're supposed to evolve. And certainly when you look at this league has evolved. And, when we first came into it, when I watched tape, I said to myself, there might be 2 teams that we got to be ready to beat. We got to build our teams to beat those 2 teams to win a championship. You look at it now, look at the parity in our league. You can honestly say, man, there's 5-6 teams right now that have a shot, depending how the season gets played out, how injuries happen, that have a shot to win a championship. And people always assume like the Arizona Rattlers are going to win, and that's great. I mean, we've earned that because we've been successful through the years, but we still have our own internal issues whether it be from a discipline standpoint, from injuries that we have to deal with week to week. And that's why the game is played. You have to play the game, we're going to get beat from time to time. That happens, and hopefully we learn from it and build on it and move forward. But, these people that just assume that we're going to show up and people are going to lay down because, we got Rattler jerseys on. I mean, you're in the wrong mindset. You got to come to play. This league has changed. There's no gimme games. And as I said earlier, we've lost 2 out of our last 3 games. We're not overlooking anybody. And, my job is to get this team ready to play. And hopefully we'll be in the right mindset and get some guys that's back in the lineup. But if they don't get back in the lineup, the guys we have got to go get it done. And that's the message. And so that's the mindset. So we'll certainly approach it that way.
All right, Coach. Well, the next step in the evolution of the 2022 Arizona Rattlers is this coming Sunday, 3 o'clock for the broadcast, 3:05 kickoff time at the Footprint Center, downtown Phoenix. The Arizona Rattlers take on the Bay Area Panthers. Coach, good luck. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you on Sunday, okay?
You bet. Thank you.
All right. Folks, this has been the Arizona Rattlers Coaches Show with Kevin Guy and Floyd Simmons. We will see you Sunday. Again, the Panthers come to town. They're going to come to downtown Phoenix, take on the Rattlers this weekend. Come on out. Have a great time. And we will see you all very, very soon.